Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 14 of the Put Me in Coach pod. Very special guest today. Not many times you get a goat, I'll call her, a legend at DePauw University, Sydney Kopp. Sydney, thank you for hopping on. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm all right. I'm just chilling. I want to give a quick shout out to my Grand Park team that I coach. We won a tournament this past weekend, so I'll give them a quick little shout out before this. But yeah, I really appreciate having you on. Before we get into anything, you're playing in Germany. And before we talk about that, how do you pronounce the team name?
Yeah, so I play in the city Braunschweig, and the club's name is Eintracht Braunschweig.
Wow, I will not try to say that too many times, but before we get into the talk about that, okay, I want to talk about how you got onto that team, okay? Because obviously Division 3 hoopers, you don't really see people going pro a whole lot, but like it's not crazy uncommon. Um, how did it go from your senior year to thinking that you might that might be the last time you ever play basketball to okay, I'm going to be playing overseas in Germany?
Yeah, so the last game we ever played, so we ended up losing in the second round of the NCAA tournament. And I mean, I just obviously in the locker room afterwards, like it's just like every year when you lose your last game, it's super sad. But you know, I just feel like I was experiencing a different sadness. Like, of course, I was so sad. Like, it was my last game as a collegiate athlete. Because it's sad you're missing your teammates, you're not going to see them every day. But I realized that I was extremely sad because, like, I just wasn't ready to stop playing basketball at that point. And I would say from that point on, I kind of decided that I'm gonna do whatever I can to not make that my last game. And so pretty much a week later, I got myself an agent, and then actually 1 week after that is when DePauw kind of said everybody off campus. So, um, so and then kind of just worked with her, and she got me a few offers, and the one I took ended up being a really great offer. She was telling me, and just especially in overseas contracts, you get a lot of things included, like apartment, car, health insurance, and obviously your salary. So it just kind of seemed like for my rookie season a really good offer, especially with so many uncertainties with COVID,
Mhm.
that I signed with them pretty early on. Like I would say that like almost a week after I signed with my agent, or maybe like 2 weeks after that. So I was pretty much set, and knowing I was going for like 3 months beforehand. So
Well, I haven't had anyone on that talks about having an agent. So that's the first time I've heard that. So talk me through how, you pick your agent. I assume that you probably had a couple to choose from. So how did you come to the
yeah.
decision that, this is the agent I wanted, to represent me for my career?
Yeah, so finding an agent was actually kind of difficult because nobody was really able to help me. Like I talked to the coaches at DePauw, they had never had a player that wanted to do this. And so I
Mhm.
kind of just started asking around. Like, so my uncle, he's a lawyer. One of the lawyers he goes against, he knew that his daughter played in Europe. So I was like, you know what, give me her contact and let me see her agent. And then one of my trainers in high school, he was in contact with an agent. So I was like, let me get his number. So I ended up talking to mainly those two. And then I pretty much just decided by which one I felt most comfortable with, made me feel like a priority. I kind of felt with one of them, he was a little bit talking about some like WNBA, some higher end athletes. And like, I was just like, I think it would be best for me to go with the one that I felt like really would make me a priority and like my concerns, and didn't seem like they had so much on their plate. So I
Mhm.
kind of just decided, just the same way you kind of decide for college, I feel like I just decided which felt like the best fit for me.
It was probably real easy to kind of, not probably easy, obviously, but you had a stellar senior year at DePaul, like stellar. I was looking at your season alone in that last year. Correct me if I'm wrong. You became the DePaul all-time leading scorer. You had the single game scoring record that year. I think that's the same game that you set the DePaul record for threes made in a game. Career wise, you averaged 15 points, another freaking career milestone at DePaul. 620 made threes, or no, excuse me, 620 made field goals, and 240 of them are threes, also both records. I mean, how does it feel to go from DePaul, which I assume is probably a little bit different of competition, obviously, but how does it feel to go from just like absolutely dominating, being the guy, or excuse me, the girl, and then going to Germany? It's a completely, different mindset, different framework over there.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was difficult, but it's almost like, you play college for 4 years and you're kind of in your comfort zone by I feel like I was at least by my junior and senior year. And
Mhm.
then again, all of a sudden it's almost like you're a freshman again and you have to figure it all out again. It's kind of
Mhm.
it's fun. It's fun in itself. It's difficult. It's a new challenge. And I feel like if any high caliber athlete is constantly looking for that next challenge, that next thing that they can reach. And so it was really, really and not only that, but I also played shooting guard most of my DePauw career, and I was pretty much a pure point guard
Mhm.
in at my team now. So it's just like, change is hard, but at the same time, I feel like I needed this like new challenge. And I mean, it was really fun, honestly. Like I loved the coaching staff, my teammates. So it was easy to kind of adjust because of like all the help I had and the encouragement I had.
Let's talk about that help a little bit. You play for obviously DePaul. I'm gonna have to look at my notes real quick, but the coach there, I think is it Coach Huffman or
Mhm.
okay, yeah, she's an absolute legend in herself. I think
Yeah.
her win percentage is like 83%. And people are gonna hear your career points per game and hear 14 and think, man, that's not crazy high. But I think that you guys are so successful that it's kind of hard to get playing time early on, like as a freshman or a sophomore.
Yeah.
So talk about your first couple seasons at DePaul and some of the hardships that you might have even gone through your first 2 years.
Yeah. So I mean, I actually was a starter my freshman year, which I was like the
Oh,
first starter in like a number of years, I think.
okay.
Um, so obviously I didn't go through the same struggles as like most freshmen do at DePauw because you're right.
Right.
Most freshmen really do not play, but still in itself, I was coming from my senior in high school. I was the leading scorer in all of Illinois. So, and then all of a sudden I, was coming on and being not, I wouldn't say a role player on the team, but there were players ahead of me. And so that definitely was something I had to learn is to, just trust your teammates more. Cause in high school, I feel like I didn't really have to do that. I
Mhm.
kind of depended more on myself, but in college, all of a sudden you're getting scouted. They know that you're a shooter. They know this is
Yeah.
the move you like. So you really have to depend on your teammates to get going too, so that, defenses collapse on them and then you get open. So I would say that was probably the biggest struggle I had, like eventually being scouted a lot and like teams knowing what I was going to do. Cause in high school, it doesn't happen really.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, like you said, my career points per game was whatever between 14 and 15, and that's like another record to Paul. It's the highest career points per game ever, and it's crazy because, like you said, it's really not an insane number, but it's
Mhm.
because there's so much success and so many great players that there's so many players on the floor at a time that can score.
Yeah, right. I mean, like you just said, the Paul women's team, I mean, the program there is incredible. I think that's
Mhm.
literally like the powerhouse of D3 basketball for you guys is literally DePaul. Um,
Yeah.
was it a hard transition? I don't know where you went to high school off the top of my head, but was it a hard transition to go from, being the person at your high school and then having to take a little bit of a backseat to all these other players that you're playing with at DePaul?
Yeah, it definitely was, but at the same time, I knew that I was going to be like I just knew from the first game my freshman year, like even though I wasn't the leading scorer or like the leading player my freshman year, I knew that I was going to be. Like I just, I was confident in myself and I just knew that this team was going to be my team in like a year. Like
Mm,
so it would, and like I needed that freshman because I really honestly my freshman looked up to the juniors and seniors that year so much that it was like it was refreshing to have a basketball player again that I could like strive to be, because in
mhm.
high school I really didn't go to the greatest high school for basketball. So it was really nice for me to again be like pushed and just like, see that girl in front of me that I wanted to be better than and like work towards being as good as her. So it's a great challenge. And like I think athletes need that person that they're constantly just like trying to catch.
Mhm. Did you put a lot of pressure on yourself knowing that you were going to be the person, down the road, or did you kind of just say, whatever's going to happen is going to happen?
I'm definitely the type of player that I do put a lot of pressure on myself, but it's because I genuinely believe that I am the best person for the job, and if I'm doing that and my other teammates are doing their roles, that we could be really successful. And so, but that pressure also forces me to work harder. Like every summer, even I'm a professional athlete, and I've already have a list of things I need to get better at. So when you put that pressure on yourself to be great, you do you do everything in your power to obtain greatness. So I think that I've done that, but it's also worked out for me so far. So
How much encouragement did coach, put into you early on in your career? Because obviously, as a junior and senior, you're the person that they give the ball to at the end of the game to take the last shot. But what was the encouragement coming from the coaches, in the beginning of your career at DePaul?
oh yeah, I had the green light since I was a freshman, to the point that a few times my freshman year she would tell me, why are you not shooting that? Like,
Mm,
like, because I mean, as a coach, you see, I'm the type of player that I say after practice every single day.
mhm.
At lunchtime, will text the coaching staff and ask, can somebody come down and rebound for me? And I mean, when you see somebody working like that, and they see that I can make most spots on the floor 8, 9, 10 out of 10, and so it's almost like if you have a player like that and they're not taking the open shot, you get mad because that's the best shot for your team.
Mhm.
And I mean, I always felt like she just was on my side, which I really think is the best option you can have with player coach relationship. I never felt like after a game she blamed me. I never felt like after a game that she thought I didn't do my job. I just thought that she was on my side, and like when I was playing well, she was encouraging me. When I wasn't playing well, she was, still encouraging me and telling me like if I had a bad first half, she would just, and it wouldn't even be like much. It would just be more of like a tap on the back and be like, go play your game. And that's all she'd have to
Mhm.
tell me, to be like, you know what, like I know, like, and she knows too.
Right. I went through your game log that senior year and I highlighted 3 games that I thought were just like out of this world. And you were not kidding when you said you had the green light. But the 3 games that I highlighted, your first time or not the first time, but your first game against Wisconsin Whitewater, you had 36 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. Illinois Wesleyan, you had 35 points, 7 rebounds. And then obviously your career high against Ohio Wesleyan, 42 points and 7 rebounds. I mean, when you hear those numbers, like those are the numbers that you put up. Is it crazy to look back on that and be like, man, I was really like, excuse me, but I was really the shit back in college. And now I gotta make this, transformation there. When you look back on your career at DePaul, what's the thoughts that go through your head looking back?
When those games that you just mentioned, when I hear those games specifically, that's the game, that's the feeling that every day that I go in the gym, I strive to feel again.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't even I since Ohio Wesleyan, I've definitely had really good games, but I've never felt like I was just shooting anywhere on the floor and it was going in. And it's like that is like one of the greatest feelings in the world. And
Yeah.
ever since then, I strive to have a game where I get that feeling again, like where I just like going to like the other team calls a timeout because of you multiple times in the game, and you just know it, and like you just know that no matter what you do, this ball is going in, like, and it's just like the greatest feeling in the world. And yeah, looking back at my college career, when I hear you say that, it really is almost surreal, because
Right.
it's almost like I can't believe I did that. Like, I don't know, it's like crazy to hear and see also other people see your hard work pay off, and it's just so like, I don't know, it's very hard to describe.
No, I bet. I mean, and it probably makes it a lot better that you guys like won games. I mean,
Oh,
you're
100%. I could have a 40-point game and we lost, and I'm like a very tough on myself after losing. Like I just don't talk for like a day. Like I just like, even if I had the greatest game of my life and my team loses, it's just like game over for me. Like I just
yeah. Well, I remember we would go on trips my freshman year with you guys, and I'm gonna be honest, we didn't win a whole lot, but you guys would call on the bus and it would be like, I mean, you'd have no idea if you had 30, 40, 20. I feel like that you're a pretty team person. Is that something that you that you really focus on? I mean, because it's kind of hard to be a team person and also get 40 and not like be too full of yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So do you really like take pride in being like a great teammate, or is that just like I'm gonna go out there and get buckets?
No, that 100% great teammate. Like almost to the point that if I have a 40-point game and like I feel like Coach Huffman can attest to this, she'll like, the team will be like going crazy in the locker room for me and like
Mhm.
and afterwards coach will like see I'm a little down and shoot and she'll like maybe say something to me or like my parents say something to me and I'll just be like, I even though I had a great game, I hope I didn't look like miss a pass to my teammate because I was taking a
Mhm.
selfish shot, or I hope I didn't. My teammates don't see me as a ball hog right now, or I hope they don't think that like we're celebrating me and not the team's win. So like, I that's like probably one of my like biggest like self-conscious things in basketball is that like if I have a great game, I hope that my team doesn't think that we had a great game, because
Mhm.
it's like it's a team sport. If I'm having a great game, it's not because I'm just having a great game. It's because somebody made a great pass to me, or because a post set a great screen and slipped it, and so I got that 1 second where I could get off my shot. So, and those things don't go on a stat sheet, and it's like I want to thank them for it because, and in the end, like a win is a win. I hope that's like thanking enough that we got the win
Right.
together.
Exactly. I'm not gonna be disrespectful to the opponents in the NCAC, but you you had days against NCAC, lost 2 games in your career against NCAC opponents. But I mean by not being disrespectful, did you ever think that like your competition was just like not good enough to stop you? I mean, that might sound weird, but like, was there ever a moment in your career, especially that senior season, where you were like, all right, this team straight up cannot guard me?
That's how I go into every game.
Right.
I
Exactly.
look at the girl that's guarding me and like, I mean, I think every athlete does this. Like, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but every time I see the person guarding me, I literally in my head say like, really, this is who you put on to guard me? Like that, like, I say it in my head and it's like, it hypes me up a little bit. Like, and my teammates, the DePaul teammates know I did that too. Like they would
Mhm.
know, like I would be like, really, they put her on me. Like this is a joke. And like before games, I would even tell my teammates like, look at their coaches watching me shoot. And I was like, she knows she's about to get pounced. Like, and I'm like, I'm a competitor. Like I
Yeah.
say that type of stuff. Like, I mean, I don't get me wrong. I'm a nice person. At the end of the game, I'm going to shake your hand and say great effort. But
Mhm.
before the game and during the game, like, I'm a competitor. Like you're like, that's it. Like, I see you as the person trying to stop me and the person that can't like, and that's it.
Yeah, that's so funny. I wish I had that mindset. It's hard to have that mindset when you average like 7 points a game, maybe. But it doesn't shock me that you feel that way. Do you still have that mindset? Obviously, you probably do, but I mean, is that
Yeah.
still, the way that you're around your teammates? Like, look who's guarding me. Like, give me a break.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the defender of the year, the best defender in the league, and I'll literally be like, she just should stop trying now. Like, because I mean, if I just feel like if I don't think that way, like, I mean, I don't know. I feel it's made me the player I am. It's made me the like just like the like I just like Kobe called it Mamba mentality, and like that's kind of what I just try to go into games with, like
Mhm.
just like a mentality that you just try and guard me, like please try.
Was there ever a time in that senior year where, because I saw your game log and you went on a stretch of like 20 plus, I think it was like 8, 9 games in a row, maybe, which is unreal. Um, During that stretch, like what are your teammates saying? What are the coaches saying? Is the game plan still just like, all right, let's give Sydney the ball and green light that thing, or like what's the talk in the locker room like during those kind of stretches, and even during those games where you have 40 and 30?
Mhm. I mean, honestly, I think coach went about it the best way. We didn't single me out ever. It's always a team effort, and I
Mhm.
appreciated that. Like when I had my 42-point game, of course after locker room it was like, and Sydney just broke the record. Like everybody went crazy and that, but it was never okay. Here's the plan. Like we're down 10. Make sure we get Sydney the ball. It's never that. It's let's keep running our sets, and that's how Sydney usually scores. It's through our sets and people getting her open, and let's just keep doing our game and playing as a team. And because that's what's worked for us all season. So, I mean, it's I really never felt like coach treated me like the player, because
Mm-hmm.
I think she realized that I couldn't do what I did without everybody else. And I mean, as a coach too, you have to make sure everybody on the team feels worthy, feels like they're there for a reason. And I think she did that really well. And I hope that I was able to portray that to my teammates as well, that I didn't feel like I was just like the reason we're winning. I was the person, like, because even though I knew the level I was playing at, I also knew that I couldn't do this without them.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got all the good stuff about the senior year out the way. All right, there's so much. We had to do it first. But let's talk about the NCAA tournament. All right, we
All right.
go into the tournament. You're probably a 1 seed, right?
Um, well, it's not really like that in D3. It's kind of more like rankings top 25, and then from there they go based on like strength of schedule. But we did have the home court, which is like
Right.
pretty big
Oh,
deal.
right.
Yeah, so
I remember that now I think about it, because freshman year I was confused as to why we
yeah.
couldn't have a shot at making the tourney, and like even Wabash maybe didn't have a shot. But anyways, what was the mindset going to that tournament? Obviously you guys had high expectations.
Mhm.
Obviously I think for you guys the championship is the goal every single year.
Of course, yeah.
And then talk about after the early exit.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, when we found out we had that home court advantage, I was absolutely like ecstatic. I was stoked, like,
Mhm.
because this is my fourth year there, and every year we were a top 10 at some point. And for some godforsaken reason, my first 3 years we got gypped, and we were just be away. And like,
Mhm.
I just feel like we were constantly getting bad draws, and like finally we got a home court, and I was like, this is it. Like, this is the year. Like, thank God we got the home court advantage. Like,
Mhm.
we're about to have like Lily's about to be bumping. Like, I was just so excited. And my senior year. And so the first game we beat the first team pretty handily. So we were going to the next day pretty good. But what happened with the team, Loris, actually, that ended up knocking us out, is the year before we had knocked them out. And it was one of those days for me that year. I had, I think, about 35 points, and I think I was like 6 for 7 from the 3-point line. And it was just one of those days. Like, they actually should have beaten us my junior. They were a better team, but we beat them. So they came into this game with a vengeance. Like, they wanted revenge. We knew this.
Mhm.
And I mean, they had a great game plan. I feel like I was doubled every time I got the ball. Um, we missed some easy layups, I remember, because when you get doubled, somebody's open. I remember we made some good passes into the post and outside, and we missed some easy shots, easy layups, and the cards didn't fall the way we wanted them. And but honestly, props to Loris that day, because afterwards, I mean, I rewatched the game one time now,
Mhm.
and they had us scouted. They had our game plan. They knew our plays. They knew what I did. They knew how. It was the first team all season that I feel like every team all season, I feel like their game plan was to figure out how to stop me. And I think it was the first team all season that actually figured it out, and like their game plan worked.
Was playing pro or like overseas, was that always the goal for you? Was that always the dream, or was like getting bounced kind of early play a factor into that decision for you?
Yeah, so going into my senior year, it was in the back of my mind. I was kind of like, I think I might be good enough to do this. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I I really feel like I could potentially be good enough. And then that like second round loss, like, really kind of like ignited another fire in me. Like, this can't be my last game of basketball. I've put so many hours into this sport, and like, I have such a passion. I love this game with my whole
Mhm.
being, and I was just like, I I'm not done. And so yeah, that's kind of how that went.
And then we end up in Germany, and you're still hooping. I think you're starting, aren't you?
Yeah, I was the second leading scorer in the league this year as a rookie. So
Oh yeah. So it's like what, 15 points and like I think it was like 5 boards maybe a game.
yeah, I think I like 16.6 points per game, and like, yeah, you're like 5 or 6 boards and like 2 assists per game. So I definitely, and I actually shot 48% from the three. So that was really
Hmm.
probably my favorite stat of the year, because like, 3-point shooter, I love shooting, and
Right.
that my best shooting year of my life by far. Yeah, so that was kind of, I mean, really, really cool. My last game, I actually ended up getting boxing ones in a professional game, and I was just like, this is crazy. Like, I'm getting
Wow.
boxing ones in a professional game. Like, it just like, I mean, there's just stuff like that that I'm gonna look back on it and be like, I did not like in the moment like breathe and be like, this is amazing right now, because like I said, I'm such a competitor. In the moment, I'm
Mhm.
like, what the f? They're boxing one. I'm like, okay, now we got to figure out a way to beat them. So like, but I definitely know that things like that are gonna be like a few things that I look back and I'm like, I really got boxing ones in a professional game. Like that's crazy.
That actually is really unreal, especially for your first year, already
Yeah,
being viewed as the person, and then already in your first year being the game plan for the other team. Like, we have to stop
yeah,
Sydney or else we're gonna lose.
yeah.
Um,
Like it's just surreal, honestly.
so are you in Germany? Like, obviously, like the whole season. I mean, tell me how that works. Like, what is there to do? I mean,
Yeah. Well, this season was really peculiar, obviously with COVID. So
mhm,
it normally like a normal professional schedule is you get there either in sometime in August. I got there end of August. Um, and then you normally wouldn't leave until around May, depending on how late into playoffs and such you make it. Um, and a normal like day by day schedule, at least for me and my team, was that in the morning we either had an individual with one of the coaches or lifting, and then the professionals get free lunch at a local cafe, so usually go there. And then at night you have team practice,
mhm,
and that's how it was the first 2 months. And then with COVID, things got really tight and closed down, so Germany was in a lockdown.
mm,
So that's probably was the hardest part about being over there. So for the last however many months, we would only have team practice at night. So all day I really had nothing to do other than only things open were grocery stores. So I kind of would just go on a lot of walks, read, watch Netflix, and then at night have practice, and then on Saturdays have games, and like constantly getting COVID tested. So it definitely was a odd season, and like it was at times really difficult, and I would get homesick at times because there was
mhm.
just nothing to do.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like I am really excited to go back and hopefully have a regular season, because those first 2 months when I was on like a regular schedule, I was loving it. Like it was amazing.
It just sounds like going to another country is something that I couldn't imagine doing. I feel like that would just be like a whole new world type of ordeal, I guess. Do you live by yourself there, or do you have like a roommate that's on the team?
So this year I did have a roommate, and that was actually really great because I was originally not supposed to have a roommate, but like thank God I did, because there was just so much alone and downtime that it was almost like I needed some other person to have an interaction with, because
Right.
just all day we just didn't have much to do.
Mm.
So yeah, I lived with another pro, and it's nice apartment, 2 bedroom apartment, living room, kitchen. They provide you with all of that, all the expenses for the apartment gets paid for, and
That's really
so it's a pretty
nice.
sweet setup, yeah.
Um, I forgot I was going to ask right there. Um, but yeah, with the Germany league, is there a big difference between playing there and then with DePaul? Like, obviously there's probably a huge difference, but
Mhm.
what are the noticing things that you can tell?
Definitely, I would say the biggest thing I had to adjust to was just the size and strength of girls.
Mhm.
Just they're just taller and stronger, so my finishes inside had to be a little bit
Yeah.
like different, like a little more like up and under in the air stuff, and a little more like I couldn't do as much just like getting into the lane and kind of doing my thing, and had to be more of like like a step back, or like running off of screens a little more. So I would say that's definitely like the posts were just bigger and stronger. So I'm not gonna lie, I got blocked a bit the first few games. It was an adjustment. um, and just a few like little things, like the court size is a little bit different, like where the 3 point line is. So I was stepping out of bounds a lot in the beginning, but that's really typical for American players. And I was traveling a little bit in the beginning, because the step when you rip through is a travel in Europe, but it's not in America. So
Mm,
just little adjustments that like you don't realize are actually a pain in the ass to learn, because they're just second nature to you, like
yeah,
especially like a rip through go.
right.
But like they just take time to just like, okay, take a step back, like let me think about this and then go. But like now it's more second nature to me. But yeah, just like little things that just kind of are annoying to have to figure out.
It's probably a big difference also going from DePaul where you're playing people mostly your age and then you're just playing straight adults in
Yeah,
Germany.
yeah. Like there's two girls that are like 30 and 32. Yeah, just some older girls that yeah, and it's crazy. You'll see a scouting report. Some teams are like 27, 28, 30, 31. Like so it's just like, oh geez, like but I mean, I can use your youth to an advantage at some points.
That's hilarious. That's so funny. I end each episode with like quick fire questions, about 5 to 10 minutes. And I titled this for you, "Goat Talk." So this would be a nice little conversation. But in Germany, when you're in Germany, what's your favorite thing to do? Some of your favorite hobbies?
Well, at our local cafe that we get to go to, they have like this like back room that they have like some games in it. So like me and some of my teammates during the day will go and play darts a lot.
Hmm.
That's probably like my favorite thing to do. Just, I mean, obviously there weren't a lot of things open, so I didn't get experience like a lot of things, but
Um, what about music? What kind of music do you listen to? Are we still bumping to some the baby, little baby, or are we starting to listen to some Germany music?
some German pop that like my teammates will play in the locker room, but it's really kind of similar to American pop. I'm not
Okay,
gonna lie. Um, but yeah, during the summer, like summertime now, I listen to a lot of country.
good. I couldn't imagine bumping to German pop. I
Yeah,
just
like
can't
not
picture
like
that.
house music. Like I don't like like typical. Like think of like German how they like it's. I don't
Yeah.
like really enjoy that.
What's some of your favorite food in general, and then maybe something new that you tried in Germany?
My favorite food is Chipotle. And my favorite thing probably that I ate in Germany is called Dunar, which is it's kind of like a style of like a Euro, but it's more of like burrito form and
Hmm.
more a little like it has a German twist on it.
Man, you're really team Chipotle.
Yeah,
Man, that's tough. I think I'm team Qdoba to be honest with you. So
really, that's
yeah,
definitely an unpopular opinion.
that's just awkward now. What's your favorite thing to do with your teammates? I guess I know we kind of just talked about hobbies, but when you're with the teammates, what are some of the things that you guys do together?
Honestly, like I feel like just typical things that you normally do with your teammates. We pretty much just go to somebody's apartment and like hang out and just I don't know, eat. I guess like I mean, drink. Everybody in Europe just drinks all the time.
Mm,
Um, just hang out, watch basketball, watch TV. I mean, like I said, if there was more open, like bars, clubs, like different places to go, I would probably end up doing that a lot more, like going out to eat and stuff. But there really wasn't, so it was more like hang out at each other's places. When it was a nice day, one of our teammates had a really nice porch and balcony. So yeah, just typical.
German stuff, right? What is your like? Who are your favorite players? Who are some players that you look up to and kind of like model your game after in a way?
I mean, I love Steph Curry, always have. Just,
Yeah.
I
As a
mean,
shooter, that's easy to like him too.
yeah, yeah. Um, for women's, I mean, I really like Sabrina Ionescu. Like, how could you not? As a women's
Hmm.
basketball player, I feel like just somebody who just has really led the way for, I mean, really bringing women's sports to actually people's eyes. Um, I really like Tyler Hero too and Duncan Robinson. They're both on the Heat, like
Hmm.
just young players that I just feel
Yeah.
like work really hard. Like I've just read a lot of stuff on them about just like how hard they work, and I feel like that's kind of especially Duncan Robinson. I mean, he came from D3 to
Yeah.
now he's a starter on the Miami Heat. Like that's crazy, and I just feel like I can't imagine how hard he had to work and just the obstacles he had to get over that a lot of athletes don't have to that are in the NBA now.
Um, yeah, no, Duncan Robinson's got a clip. He's got a clip. And I love the
Yeah,
D3. I love the D3 backstory too. I love that
yeah,
kind of
it's
stuff.
amazing.
Um, when you're back in America, does it feel different? Like, do you just feel like everything just looks brand new, or is it just like normal coming back?
I would say it's pretty normal. It's kind of like honestly coming back after the summer now when I would be in like Greencastle at college, like coming back is kind of always a little bit like for the first few days, like oh yeah, like that, or like, oh, when did that get put up there, just like that. But you adjust quickly. I mean, when you grow up somewhere, it's kind of like all of a sudden you're back and it's like, oh, I'm home. Like,
Right.
so.
And I'll end it off with who you have winning the NBA championship.
Oh, interesting question. I mean, I guess if I like had to pick, but I wouldn't really support them. I would probably pick the Nets, but like for like more of like my purposes, I would pick the Heat.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean,
Because
it's
yeah,
kind of
like
it's
Jimmy
hard to
Butler
bet against
too,
the
like
Nets.
straight from Chicago, like a Chicago Bull. Like I just love the Heat.
The Heat are really nice. I loved them last year too. I had them going all the
Yeah,
way.
they're like
Going
the only
around.
team I actually would like watch in the playoffs, like actually like religiously, just because I feel like they actually play with like such hustle and like they just care. It's like and you can see
Mhm.
it on the floor.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I love that. It's really hard to like not say the Nets. It's like impossible to not say them.
Yeah, I know. I mean, but LeBron's LeBron, so I
Yeah,
kind of hope
yes.
he puts them up a little bit, honestly.
Right. That's who I got winning it all. I'm a huge LeBron fan, so
Oh, really?
I got them
Yeah.
winning it
I
all.
mean, I am too. Honestly, I'm not like a huge LeBron fan, but at the end of the day, like you have to respect what he's done and like how hard he has worked to get to where he is. Like, as any basketball player, you have to respect game.
Yeah. I mean, he's my goat, so I'm gonna support him all the way.
Yeah.
So I love him. But I appreciate you coming on, Sydney. It was a lot of fun talking to you, and I wish you nothing but the best in Germany.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. It was fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, dream girl, dreaming, I be dreaming. Missing all the days you got me fiending. I said I love you, babe, you know I mean it. Hey, yeah, dream girl, I be dreaming.